As promised, I'm back with another Puch engine. It's not going to be a complete rebuild like my last video. This video is only going to show the difference between the 2-speed that I made last time and the 3 or 4-speed. This one is a 4-speed, and it's actually a sad story. I already did this engine. My friend bought it from a guy who gave up on his project, and he had bought a new crankshaft, some bearings and seals and everything you need to rebuild an engine. And the crankshaft that he bought, it's some unbranded name or brand, unmarked brand, and it's just no good. To start with, it was too wide between the crankshaft webs, so the bearings were, you couldn't adjust any side play on it. So we modified that, got it mounted, and then when he got it home and mounted the cylinder kit, the conrod hit against the skirt, so it's too wide. So we considered to grind something off the conrod, but then I turned the engine around and I saw that it's not even straight. It's a really shitty crankshaft. You can see it, I don't know if you can, but I can see it just with my eye. The end of the ignition side, it's moving a bit up and down. So the task is to take the engine apart again and put a new crankshaft in, and I'm trying to keep it a bit shorter than my last video. First I need to start the rest of the disassembly. I already took the clutch and kickstarter cover off. It's pretty straightforward. You just need to remove all the bolts, and then the centering bolt for the clutch puller, and you can just pull it off. Then we need to remove a circlip here, the whole clutch assembly, the nut for sludge sprocket, and the shifter spring. It's a centering mechanism for the shifter on this engine. And on the other side, remove any circlips, and then all the bolts, and then you can take it apart. To get the two nuts off, I will recommend this tool. It's an original from Puch, or I think this is a remake. It locks inside these two holes and locks the whole assembly. And as you saw in the shot before, I banked the securing plate flat. And then start with the crankshaft side. Then you can pull the whole clutch off. And there's a single circlip below the clutch. And if they are very tight and old and rusty, then use a impact hammer, like this one. Oops. You hit it with a hammer and have a bit in the socket, and then you can really force the screws out. It helps because the flathead screws, they strip very easily. I took all the screws out, and now it should be ready to get split, and that's the point where all the needles come flying. If you saw my last video, you know the small rollers that are everywhere in this type of engine. And that's the 4-speed gearbox. looks identical to the 3-speed. It just has a set of sprockets more than the 3-speed. Let's pull the gearbox. I like to start with this pin that holds the shift forks. If that's out, you can move the shift forks out of the way and pull the whole shifter drum. Always remember to look for distance washers like this one. They're everywhere in a Puch engine. The shifter forks, they need to be mounted like this, with the small pins against each other and the forks close. Yeah, and the rest of the gearbox is easy, it's just take it straight out. That's the shaft where the clutch is on, or that's driven by the clutch. And then we have the secondary shaft. And as you see, the small roller bearings. And the function is similar like the last engine I showed you. Some of the sprockets are always fixed and others can slide on the shaft. And then the shifter forks, they move the sprockets around and lock some gears and set others free. So some of them can rotate, others get locked to the shaft. And that's how it can shift through all gears. I prepared the new crankshaft. That's the old one. If you see one like that, throw it away or sell it, return it, I don't know. If you want to know more about the crankshaft installation, again watch my other video about this kind of setup. I'm going to show you how to mount the gearbox now. That's a big difference from this engine to the other one I made last time. Start with the transmission shaft, the secondary one. I like to take the upper sprocket off. Then be sure the lower distance washer doesn't slip while you put it down. And then you can take the primary gear shaft. I think I will remove the next sprocket also. Normally I would turn the engine around and mount everything in the small engine housing, but in this 4-speed model there's a small edge corner at close to the crankshaft, and you can't get the sprockets past that point. See, like that. Now it's in. If you turn it around, you can't get the larger one past that corner down there in the casting. It has a slope, so you need to mount it in the large engine case on the clutch side. And just put the sprockets back. And now it's time to mount the shifter forks. They need to match the grooves and the sprockets on the gear shafts. And you can't really get it wrong. Just mount them with the forks close to each other, and the small pins also have to be close to each other. And after you've done that, then push them a bit aside so that you can get the shifter drum in. And on the shifter drum you have some teeth. They need to be centered, so the third groove needs to match with the third tooth. So you hold it like that. Be sure that it doesn't change position. and then get it down there. Oh. If it slips, take it out again and to be sure that you align them correctly, or else you can't shift through all gears. Now you need to lift the sprockets, including the shifter forks, so that you can put the shifter fork into the groove in the shifter drum. Like that. And then take the pin, the sliding pin, put it through the shifter forks, and make sure that it gets into the hole in the car's engine house. And don't forget the last sprocket. Yeah, and then I'm ready to close the engine. Be careful that you remember this distance washer below the first gear sprocket. And then if you put it together, you need to be careful that you don't knock the needle bearings around. I've closed the engine case, put all the screws back in and tightened them down. And now all these parts, you've seen it in the other video, the clutch and how to adjust the play of the basket and all that. The difference now is the shifter drum needs to be locked by a locking ring, sharp side up. And you need to make sure that it seats all the way down. Sometimes you have to pull a bit on it while you push down on the locking ring with a screwdriver. Now it clicked into place, and just to be sure you can try to, if it rotates freely, and then you're there. And then you need to put a spring back on. You need a large screwdriver for that. What I like to do is cross them over like that. Then you put the flat side or the lowest side down against the engine case and hold it right on top of the shifter arm. Put a screwdriver in it, and then you twist it open. I should have used a bit wider screwdriver, but went okay. And then click it down in place. Then it will probably stay there until you've closed the engine case. It's held in place by the clutch cover. And don't forget to lock your washer and tighten all that stuff. Yeah, that's what you have to do here. We're back on the ignition side. The last thing I need to do is the sealing for the shifter arm. It's an O-ring. It sits down in the groove. It's a good idea to lubricate it first. This one is still a bit oily from last time. Need to get the ring all the way in, all the way around. Sometimes it seems like the O-ring is a bit larger and won't ever fit, but it does. And there's a washer on top, and then another circlip. And again, sharp side out. Make sure it clicks into place, like that. And that's it. That's what I wanted to show you about the 4 and 3-speed engine. Remember, this is not a complete rebuild guide. It's just an addition to my other Puch video. So if you want to know more about it, go watch that video. And that's a 2-speed engine. and then get the details for the 3 or 4 speed engine from this video. Thanks for watching.